This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Oh, isn't that hair fabulous? Broadcasting live from the new hotspot on Fort Myers Beach, Wahoo Willie'S. It's time for another exciting award-winning episode of Beach Talk Radio. Here are your humble hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
So I did that last week. When we started the show, I did that last week. I went like that so everybody could applaud. And the ride home was hell last week. She said, I can't believe you asked for applause. I can't believe that you did that and made everybody clap their hands.
You're so weird.
You did that though, didn't you? Didn't you do that? Go ahead, deny it. Go ahead, deny it.
I'm not denying it.
All
Yeah,
right,
I was
just to make sure. We want to say
so
hello
cringy
to our friends from Wisconsin here.
I know, they're back again. Yes.
They gave us a bag of cheese curds last week. Fresh
two bags.
Cheese curds. And I ate so many cheese curds from last Saturday. I haven't shit since then. That's how much cheese I ate. It's like I didn't know that. Oh, sorry, people are eating.
Welcome to the nice high-tech
What's
show
going
you
on
have
behind
here.
us here? It's motorcycle week here on Fort Myers Beach. We also have new
that's a
friends
truck.
that have been watching us for a while from Satellite Beach, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody?
Originally, though, Michigan, right?
Oh, Michigan. Okay.
Michigan. Lots of
Right.
Michigan. Yep.
We're going to talk to Jay Stoddard in a little while. Jay was a survivor of the storm, and there were no motorcycles on Old
This
San
isn't-
Carlos before.
It's not a motorcycle.
What's
It's
going
the
on?
guy's truck.
What kind of truck is this? He's driving a Ford. What do you have to do to
No,
a
he's got
Ford
a
to make it
special
sound like
muffler on
that?
it.
Holy Christmas.
Okay, just move on. Put your
And
headphones
then
on.
we're going to talk to Stephen Clark, who's going to be performing at Moss Marine tomorrow night and also at our concert next Saturday that we hope you all show up to. Thank you very much. Now, I know when I say we have a certified public accountant on the show, you might think, oh my God, it's going to be boring. But this is our accountant. He's not boring.
Thank you.
And it's important to know what you can write off, especially those of you out watching the show here on Fort Myers Beach. It's important to know what you can and cannot write off, being that, you might not have a house or your house is, been destroyed. It's flattened like a pancake. And so we invited Stephen on to tell us. And the other thing is that the government has not declared Hurricane Ian an actual disaster.
Certified disaster laws.
Has anybody gone up and down the streets on Fort Myers Beach?
What
No.
what are the rules? Do you know the rules around how that gets done?
It has to be an act of Congress to be passed to be considered a certified disaster loss.
Well, clearly they're going to do that, though, right? I mean, it would make sense, right? I mean,
Okay, so here's what
do we have to go up there?
here's
now?
how politics gets involved in it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or you can avoid it because you have to do taxes for Democrats and Republicans. So obviously, Florida's become a wickedly Republican state,
Correct.
and we have a Democratic president, Democratic Senate, and there might be people that might not want to vote Florida.
I don't think people are going to pick party lines on a disaster.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The reality of the question is, what will Congress get done this year?
Sorry.
You tell me.
Oh,
You
so-
mean that you think they won't get to it? Like the list of what they have to do is just so long and arduous that they won't get to it?
The first thing on the list is to fund the government,
Right.
to keep the debt ceiling going.
All right.
Well,
Well,
they're
question-
doing a good job of that.
Correct.
so
That
what's the
ceiling, they're raising that ceiling
So
all
what's
the
the
time.
difference between not declaring it an emergency or what is it, disaster, and declaring it?
it's
What's the
considered-
difference to people on the street, to people on Hibiscus and Mango Street? What's the difference to them?
So, and this primarily refers to your primary residence, your personal assets, not business, because it's a little different. So the example I use is assuming you had $10,000 of hurricane-related damage, which obviously is peanuts down here, but I'll keep it simple. And last year you made, or this year you made $100,000. Okay. So under the previous rule, which was in place during Irma, because most of us remember Irma, and honestly, most CPAs remember Irma because I lived here during that time. So you would have been able to take a deduction on top of your standard deduction of $9,500. So the first $500 is on you, and $9,500 would be added to the standard deduction. Courtesy of the government, because that was a listed enactment as a certified disaster.
Okay.
Make sure you use the right language. So under the new rules, anything in excess of 10% of your adjusted gross income, so 10% of 100 grand, is excluded. So that same example, you would get no deduction whatsoever.
Without it being a certified disaster.
Correct. Honestly, I don't think most people understood this. I saw numerous interpretations, and you can search it online and argue it. And most CPAs I talked to, about 10, when I understood the example, talked to a number of other practitioners out there. The expectation was that Congress would make this a certified disaster. Listen, it was devastating. What is it? Number 3 hurricane ever in damage and economic loss.
Number 2. Yeah.
Number 2, whatever. And
Florida?
probably on its way to number 1.
So what should people do, Steve?
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
No. Wait a minute.
Our
You're
friend from
jumping ahead.
Satellite Beach said, "Don't pick on me today." You've already,
Well, they knew that wasn't going to
we're
happen.
9 minutes into the show, and
They
you're already nullifying
I'm
my
not
question.
picking on you. I don't want to go too far forward. So when you say your other folks that do what you do didn't understand that, they didn't understand it for now filing now?
So the problem is there was a lot of misinterpretation. I would argue the IRS interpretation was average at best.
Okay.
And the reality of it is most of us lived through Irma. Most of us were affected by Ian, dealing with our own personal lives, our staff, our clients. And as a lot of us researched it, I will say a lot of congressional people didn't know the issue existed. There was a lobbying effort by the AICPA and the FICPA, and they didn't get it done when the budget got passed at the end of the last year. So I know a number of people have reached out to the local congressmen, and their expectation is they are going to try to get it done in September.
So to
Get it done in terms of
passing the law.
So
correct it.
so it has to go through the House. The House will
House-
pass it because it's a Republican House. Will the Senate approve, pass it? Will Biden sign it?
I don't know. Somebody here gambles.
Will somebody-
Exactly.
I mean, what are the odds of that? I mean, it doesn't make it. Biden came down here and said that he's gonna be the champion for the people, and is it, so I would imagine that means he's gonna sign. How could you not see that this is a disaster?
Listen, it's the reality of Congress in Washington. Yeah. It's the meat grinder that is politics.
Well, how come Byron Donalds hasn't been vocal on this?
I know he's been aware, and I know he is actually working it as we speak.
Okay. All right. So what is this going to cost the average person up and down the street on Hibiscus or Mango Street? What's the difference in what they can write off?
I'll go back to the example I gave. Somebody making 100,000 lost 10 grand.
Yeah.
At a 20% tax rate, it cost them two grand. Extrapolate that out, because everybody has different income, different asset levels, different loss levels. It could be substantial. I will say it will disproportionately hurt the people that make less.
Really?
The people that maybe not the beach where it's catastrophic, but the individuals, say inland, who maybe had some damage.
It's not going to rise up enough.
It'll never rise above that. Or the people who have a great living or have good incomes or sold assets. It'll disproportionately hurt them.
Yeah. What should people do?
Well, so the general advice is that I've been giving my clients is, wait and see if you had substantial losses. So the way you can take a casualty loss, any hurricane damage, you have 3 options, 3 time periods you can take. You can amend 2021's return. And as long as you amend it by October 15th, you're still eligible for the loss. Mm-hmm. You can take it in 2022 or you can take it in 2023. So most of my clients where we've had substantial damage, we've taken a wait and see, extend it, make estimates, document it. You need to have receipts. You need to have appraisals. You need to have documentation. Document.
Yeah.
As I drove through the beach today, I'm sure that most people don't know what their true loss is.
Right.
Right. That's the biggest challenge. I've had a number of clients on the beach, and the reality is we don't know what the loss is yet. We don't know what insurance is going to provide.
The big question.
But let me just interject here.
Oh,
Not
I
cut
like
me
it.
off. I'm
Well, your hands are
interjecting.
cold.
I know. I'm
Why are your
freezing.
hands cold?
I don't know. I'm
Wait,
cold.
you could put your hand back
So-
there. That's fine.
No.
I kind of like that.
I was just to get you
Do
to
we need to
shut
leave?
up.
Without getting the people from Satellite Beach angry at you.
So for those folks, because we had someone on our show last week that was here during the storm, and that's what he was here. But he also mentioned that he lost everything, and he still hasn't heard diddly from his insurance company.
Correct.
So, I mean, how can you file your taxes if that's an issue? And so you file and then amend it, or you extend it?
Correct. So
We know about extensions,
correct. So
much to his chagrin.
so the way the deduction lost, it's effectively I'll kind of keep it simple. It's the actual loss, whether it's appraised loss or actual cost paid out, minus what you receive from the insurance. So the good news is if you're fully insured, you really have no loss. It'll be very low. If you're underinsured, you're going to have substantial losses, and
Do you have
therefore
somewhere to go?
No.
Or you keep looking at your watch. I mean,
No,
what
looked
is
at
you
it
have
once.
somewhere to go?
I looked at it once.
So
Sorry.
it's okay.
This is also the test, is if you can maintain your focus and attention with all of these distractions.
So we have
Yeah.
somebody that asked a
He
question on
didn't
the
get
Facebook.
to finish.
So
So, there
let-
you
so-
go. Let
sorry.
him finish.
Back to the question.
You gotta rapid fire the answers, man. Come on.
But there's a lot of math involved, so he's going slow
I'm
for
trying.
you.
I'm trying to. Yeah, listen. I'm trying to slow it down for you.
He's on my team.
Go ahead.
So
Come
so
on.
subsequently, if you don't know that, in order to avoid amending returns, you want to make sure you document it, and then you can make decisions whether you take it in 2022 or 2023. 2021, we have till October 15th. So here's the reality: if you know your losses and you had significant more income in 2021, it may make sense to take it in 2021, especially for individuals who had rental properties or assets that don't exist in 2022,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
right? Or partially exist. You have till October 15th of this year to amend it. That's per the IRS guidance. Otherwise, my general expectation is we're going to extend, get better clarity on the numbers, and then work through the casualty loss. And by then, I hope I'll have better
News about the other thing.
So-
better news and better information.
Somebody from the Facebook audience said, just to confirm, you can take a loss on amended 2020 return for hurricane that occurred in 2022.
2021, as long as you amend it by October 15th. The IRS does put an actual deduction.
Okay.
Or
Just a
Even though
little-
the hurricane didn't occur
Correct.
in that calendar year.
Yes, and the reason they do it is specifically because, listen, if a hurricane hit in June, the goal is they want people to take their losses, get more money back in the economy, and therefore get
Yeah.
everybody the opportunity to get it.
So the
Wow.
a little sidebar question here,
Yep.
if you don't mind, being that we have you here. What are the top 3 ways to cheat the government? Fair question, right?
Dumb.
No, seriously. What?
I'm
On
taking
advice
it
from
down.
my attorney, I've decided I will take the 5th.
Maybe cheat was the wrong word to use.
Because it's just you and I here,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, and a few yellow
Just among a
shirts
couple of
out in the
friends.
audience. I mean, the people do the best they can to pay the minimal amount of taxes because, you pay the taxes and it seems like the government just F's it up.
Well,
I guess I would say the question, like, do you think most people get all back, or that they should, or pay more than they should?
no, I mean, listen, obviously I work with my clients to pay as least as
Right.
legally possible.
Right.
I think the biggest challenge for everybody is life's busy, tracking information, especially for business owners,
Oof.
tracking documentation, having good accounting.
I keep great records. How dare you?
It's voluminous, the paper, though.
Correct.
What is the best way to do that? What is the best way to handle
Make
tracking?
it up. That's the
No.
best way to do it. Just make it
No.
up. Who's gonna check on Joe Schmo?
You're gonna you're gonna
Listen.
He's gonna
Don't
make
worry,
you
I
work harder.
have to defend him in an audit,
Yeah,
so
no
it's okay.
Has anybody here ever been audited, like by the IR? I mean, who does the auditing?
IRS.
IRS. Does anybody?
I don't
here
know
been
if
on-
people
I
would
mean,
even raise their hand.
How
I'm
horrible
like,
is that?
No,
That's
I
worse
don't
than getting an enema, right? I mean, it's just like
It's a financial enema.
yeah. I mean, and the average Joe never wins, right? Because you never keep all the paperwork.
The reality of when you win, it's still not a pleasurable experience.
Yeah.
Nobody
Right.
nobody, even when I get notices, nobody wants to see that letter from the IRS. It's just not fun.
But when the government collects so much money from the people, like so much money, why would you go after the average citizen with an audit? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Listen, Congress passed a law trying to hire 80,000
Right.
auditors in order to increase revenue because
Because we're not giving them enough revenue.
well,
How about less bombs to Ukraine and more help in Fort Myers Beach?
the reality of it is the IRS Internal Revenue Code is thousands and
Dude,
thousands
we're talking
of
about
pages.
Ukraine now. How did it go? I mean, come on, give me your. Is the
No.
war in Ukraine or is it? Should we be? Never mind. Forget about the war in Ukraine. Never mind. I
Let's stay on-
apologize.
Let's
Just
stay
stay
on the
topic,
topic.
focus.
Yeah.
I can't stay focused. So what do you recommend people do in order to get this fixed with the government? How
So
can they-
obviously talk to your congressman.
Congressman Donalds.
So those of us not local, talk to your local congressman. Talk about the effects the hurricane had here,
yeah.
because this was a 15-minute news story. I would argue has gone away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you would agree.
Mhm.
Well, it hasn't gone away on our
For
page.
us,
No, but in the media,
Yeah.
in the media,
in the attention
I mean,
of everybody else in America. Yeah.
after the storm, I was talking to somebody at a restaurant and they didn't even realize the Sanibel Causeway were already
Right.
back open because it just didn't hit the news and it wasn't, most people sat around and I got texts from friends and family all around the country about, hey, are you okay? But they moved on to something else
Yeah.
and they will keep moving on.
So
Well, I think, wait a minute. I think you bring up a good point, and it's one that Jim Adderholt used to bring up. I think it was him all the time, and I can't even remember the issue was, but about for you folks who go back to
Right.
a different state that the, to talk to your local representatives, because it takes everybody to
Correct.
support the Florida reps to get something moving forward. And so it's really key that people that don't necessarily live here get their senators and House reps on board with what we need here. And that's really a big way that people can help.
I mean, to me, the power of Southwest Florida, we have tons of people from out of state, tons of politician. You guys had the former vice president on.
yeah.
That's the power of Southwest Florida.
Right.
Everybody goes back to their local districts. The people in California, they're worried about snowstorms and flooding. They're not
Right.
worried about the damage here. They're worried,
So how can people get in touch with you to help them help them get them the maximum amount of money from
So,
how can they reach you?
you can give me a call at area code 239-992-1973. My firm is CCG, Certified Public Accountant.
Please say that slower so Rhonda can type it in the chat box because she's always good at that.
CCG,
Not
Certified
that, the
Public
phone number.
Oh, sorry.
The phone number. By the way, we've been using Steven for
10 years.
10 years, and Jorge Barrera uses Steven also. So again, we like to recommend people you can trust. And I've always gotten money back, so that's a good thing. And there wasn't a lot of cheating. I mean, we don't make any money. We're dinky podcasters. We're making $5 here. So give out the number one more time.
Sorry, 239-992-1973.
Big hand for Steven
Can
Phillips,
I just
everybody.
ask a question
Yeah,
before
sure.
you push them right off? So can folks,
It's going to get two hands.
no. So can folks that don't have to reside in Florida? Okay.
No,
So
they do not.
Anybody, you
Nice.
can help anybody.
Correct.
There you
So
go.
we do taxes in about 40 states. That's just a function of Southwest Florida.
Okay.
So clients all around the country. So with technology, Zoom, internet,
Yeah, and
it's
you
changed the world.
didn't let him answer my other question. So before I let you go, what is the best way to track documents if you want to do it electronically and not, be overcome with paper?
So I don't get paid by QuickBooks, but that seems to
Okay.
be the standard in the industry.
Marie said that one time too.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the reality of it is the biggest challenge is I can't follow you guys around and tell you what's business and what's not.
Well, you could, I guess, if we paid you a ton of money that we don't
Correct.
have.
We don't
but
pay a ton of money.
We'd have to take that as a write-off.
Correct. So it's very hard for me to define the facts,
Thank
the
you, Margie.
circumstance, and what's
And
the
Rhonda.
deductible in order
Well, I
to
think
track.
if you just track everything and then
It's
you
a lot
get to
easier
weed through it.
It's a lot easier for me to say no than
To
remember what you guys did.
right. All right.
Thank you for coming
Case in
on. Thank you
point.
for coming
Pleasure.
all the way down here.
Thank you.
Our
Back to
accountant,
work.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. CCG. 2 C's.
All right, we're going to do Stephen Clark's going to come on next. We're going to talk about tomorrow at Moss Marine. We're going to talk about the concert, and we're going to tell you about Remove It Pros. A brand new sponsor, Remove It Pros, everybody. Remove It Pros, they started on Remove It Pros while living on Cottage Street on the beach. They've been in business since 2014. They've done over 10,000 interior demolitions since they incorporated under Remove It Pros. They have 780 five-star Google reviews. You know, compared to a Beach Talk Radio, we have 0 positive Google reviews. So that's pretty damn good. They have 780 compared to our 0. They believe that showing up on time, doing what they agreed upon, and cleaning up their own stuff, being careful with your stuff is very important. Remove It Pro is a brand new sponsor to our show. Call Dave and Logan Lockwood at 239-333-7678. You've probably seen the Remove It Pro's trucks around Fort Myers Beach because they're removing stuff. They're taking it out because a lot of stuff needs to be taken out. Last weekend, I made a post about we're going to Wisconsin, and that thing went crazy. I've never been to Wisconsin, but apparently there are a lot of people from Wisconsin that watch the show and that come to Fort Myers Beach. There's a table of 10 right in front of us from Wisconsin. They were all from Wisconsin. They brought cheese curds last week, and I can't shit because of it. Stephen Clark is here. Speaking of shit. Oh, just kidding, Stephen. Mr. Popular on Fort Myers Beach. How are you? Thank you for coming.
Oh, no.
I texted him this morning, and I said, will you come on down to the show and talk about what's going on at Moss Marine tomorrow night? Is it Marine or Marina?
I think it's Marina, although when
I
you
see.
tag it on Facebook, they have one of each.
I
But
see.
the one with Marina has more people tagging it, so I've gone with that one.
All right. And for anybody that doesn't know,
And it's like right there.
Oh, you can't help but see it. The huge
That's
blue,
right.
white, and green building.
Stephen Clark is a former Detroit, Michigan TV weatherman, newsman. Michigan, you got some people down here wearing yellow shirts that
All
were
right.
waiting for you to
Don't make
show up.
So I wish I was a weather guy because I could be wrong all the time. It's yeah.
Yeah.
my job.
Yeah. Look at you working the crowd, making them laugh. Nice. And you probably get paid more too, right? The weather people get paid a ton of money.
I don't know. We never ask each other what we made because that just,
Why
that would
not?
just
I'm
lead to
totally
problems.
obsessed by salary.
It would just absolutely lead to problems. Matter of fact, there was a big lawsuit in San Diego from this woman who found out her co-anchor made more than her.
Yeah,
And so she won this big lawsuit, ended up winning
because he was a man.
because
And she was
that's
a
what
woman.
She claimed, and but it's so hard, as you know, in the entertainment business, there's that unknown factor.
Yeah.
Is this person more popular than the other person?
Yeah.
You could have exactly the same job.
How much did you get
description.
paid in Detroit?
I can't tell you that.
I mean,
Oh,
was
there
it
you
good
go.
money? What
was good. Oh,
market?
yeah, it was
What's
good
that
money.
market?
Oh,
8?
It was when I got there, it was 9. When I left, it was 11.
Oh, okay.
So it
Did they drop your salary
They
because the
didn't-
market
well,
dropped?
actually, yeah, technically they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you there for?
17 years. on the air.
17
Yeah.
years.
Wow.
And I mean, what
You
did
have
you
to get
start?
up early? Were you on the
No,
early
I-
show or the late show?
I only did the. You like that fly? It's
One
your-
fly. There's one fly
One
on the
fly.
beach, and
Comes
he's in
over
here right now.
I only did the morning show one time early in my career, and I hated doing the morning show. And so after that, I was the evening anchor for pretty much 3/4 of my career. And so I used to get up at like 9 in the morning and go to bed at 3 in the morning.
Right.
And then when I got out of television, I worked 2 years in radio. for a guy
Biggest
named Tim
mistake of your
Roberts,
life.
who you guys know.
I know Tim
So I
Roberts.
work for Tim Roberts in Detroit.
I'm going to see Tim on Tuesday night in Nashville.
Say hi for me there.
Yeah.
And tell him he still owes me some money.
This is the last trip I'm taking on my day job that I've resigned from, and I go to Nashville, and we do the best program directors in America.
Yeah.
And I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, but I think Tim is number one.
He probably is, and he's really a great guy. But I
Total
work for him
inside
doing
baseball here.
Yeah,
Total
I mean-
inside
I did
baseball.
a
Nobody
little-
has any idea what we're talking
I did a little
about.
morning rock and roll show in Detroit after I did all those years of television, and I suddenly had to start getting up at 4:00 in the morning, and that sucked.
Yeah.
That's a rock and roll town, though, Detroit.
Yeah, no, that's and it's a legacy station. WOMC was the station, and they had a guy named Dick Burton on the air forever.
Oh
and
my
ever.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so I in my career I got
Do you
the
two just
honor.
want to like head off
Yeah.
and
Do you gotta go to the
just
bathroom or
fill in
anything?
what Moss Marine's
Why don't you
going
go
on
fix
at
your
their-
hair?
I
My
just
hair's
had-
fine.
I had the honor when I was in Detroit of replacing Bill Bonds, who was one of the most legendary TV anchors in the business at TV, and then I ended up replacing Dick Burton, one of the most legendary radio
Wow.
guys in the same market. So
Wow.
That's
Anyway, it
a
was
lot
kinda
to come
crazy.
on the heels
You
of
replacing
that.
Dick Burton would be like me replacing Joe Rogan. That's how big a star he was
No, I
in
pretty
Detroit.
Big.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
So why are you here, by the way? Oh wait,
Plus, I think we're talking about Moss
what's
Marina.
Marine.
no. There's by
Kim
the
does
way.
this
What's
part of the
going
interview.
on? What's going on tomorrow?
Wait, before you get to that,
Okay.
if anybody didn't know, this would have been the Shrimp Festival weekend. This
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
been the 65th
Yeah.
Yep.
Shrimp
We
Festival.
should have worn our hats. I saw someone with
No,
the
you know
hat
that
on.
was Drew. It
Oh,
was
was
Drew.
it?
He had the
shrimp hat on.
on.
Yeah.
We have two of those shrimp hats that
Mhm. Bernard
Bernard brought to us. Unfortunately, Bernard passed away after
after the storm.
after
right?
the storm, and what a super nice guy. And so it would have been the 65th annual Shrimp Festival, which would have been in Lynn Hall Park, but they're kind of doing a shrimp crawl. It's not really a go place to place, but who's involved in it?
Well, it's pretty much all the restaurants. If there's a restaurant not involved on Fort Myers Beach, I don't know which one it is, but I think pretty much all of them. And Wahoo Willie'S, Snug Harbor,
Rude Shrimp.
yeah, Rude Shrimp.
La Ola.
You think
Right.
Rude Shrimp is not involved in a shrimp
Oh,
festival?
jeez.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much
That would be
everybody
rude.
involved. Yeah, it'd be
When
rude,
they
wouldn't
did
it?
the Shrimp
That's-
Festival,
they're being
they
funny.
had a shrimp eating contest too that they used to hold over by the
Oh, yeah.
bathrooms over
Yeah.
there, which was incredible to watch.
Yeah,
I think it was a fireman, a Fort Myers Beach fireman that
That
has
used-
won it the
yeah.
last few years in a row. So
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything like that this year. I mean, primarily they call it a crawl. I don't think it's going to be like one of those cards you check off the places you go, but pretty much every restaurant's offering some sort of shrimp deal. They're selling some 50-50 raffle type tickets. And that's how they're raising money for the Lions Club Scholarship Program, which is really what this is about. The Shrimp
Hi.
Festival was always
Welcome
about
to Wahoo
raising money
Willie'S.
for the Lions Club Scholarship Program. And so I think when some of the restaurateurs here saw that the Shrimp Festival was not going on this year, they really said, hey, who's going to help out the Lions Club? And so
Right.
that's what this is for, is to make sure we stand in this year, because I think next year the shrimp people will be back
Back, yeah.
and they can have their Shrimp
Yeah.
Festival again, and they can continue to claim that it's going on. It'll be the 66th and the 67th.
yeah, and they're
Then that's always the question: is will they skip that year or will they just pick up from 65?
I think
'Cause
they ought to keep going. I think we call it what this year we're filling in for. We're like
Yeah.
subbing. We're like
But
the
I think
left-hander from the bullpen.
when they were on the show one time, we talked about this because there was some discrepancy in the years, and there was one year where it didn't get done, and so they were doing funky math. But I agree with you. I think you just go along.
yeah, I
And
say
It's
so.
just easier to keep track.
apparently they have Shrimp Festival shirts here. Tammy just brought this over. I don't know if there's an example that somebody can bring me of the shirt. If you have the shirt, I'd
if
like
you
to
make it
show
in
it
a
off.
2XL, I'll be glad to show it off.
There you go.
Now, were you always a 2XL?
Well, no, I've gotten larger as time goes on.
Yeah.
But no,
Wait.
actually, I was in college. I was, big and beefy, muscularly. Now I'm just big and beefy.
Yeah. So why'd you stop working out?
I still work out. My wife drags me off to the gym. I know. Look at Ed, Mr. Biceps over here. So my wife, matter of fact, my wife's exercise program is dragging my butt to the gym.
Yoga's
There
not
you
working
go.
out for a dude.
Does she
Yoga's
throw
not
you
working
on her
out.
back, and then
She
that's how
almost
she
has to
she
throw me
does
on her
squats
back.
on the way
Yeah, she
there?
has to drag me down the street
I
to
see.
do the gym thing.
I see. So you went from TV to radio to now you're a singer.
Well, I started off college as a musician. I was a jazz saxophone player of all things. But
Nice.
after
I'm a
Oh,
concert
boy.
saxophone player.
All
I
right,
didn't know
cool.
you knew that.
Cool,
Yeah.
yeah. So that and when I got out of that program and started in journalism, I wanted to keep playing music. It's sad to play a saxophone by yourself. There's just something sad.
Really?
about it. Yeah, it's just sad just by yourself playing a saxophone. So I bought a pawn shop guitar and started learning guitar, and so then I became a songwriter out of that. And
Wow.
my songwriting was actually an offshoot of my journalism. It gave me an opportunity to write stories that I really wanted to write, but put them to music.
Yeah.
And so now I've come full circle. Now that I'm back out of television and radio, I'm back in singing.
You cannot do that.
I always wanted to play the trumpet because the trumpet's a dude instrument.
It really
that's a guy instrument. Growing up, my parents tortured me. They made me play like the flute, like the clarinet.
Okay. See,
that's
we
not
got
a
some
dude instrument.
This is great.
When you have to buy a reed,
and you have to suck on the reed and stuff like that.
It's like
when I was in
in
fourth grade, they had an aptitude people come from the music store and they say, "What instruments do you have an aptitude for?"
Yeah.
And they came back with trumpet, trombone, or clarinet. And so I told my mom, I said, "Man, I want to be a trumpet player." So she came home with the clarinet because it was cheaper.
I believe it. You could get reeds by the 6-pack when you were growing up at the record store.
Oh, you used to get them like 12 packs.
I think you'd have to lick it.
I know. And to soak them and then put them in is just pretty disgusting.
Disgusting, yeah.
But with a trumpet, you had that spit valve. That
I think what also happened, now I'm having memories of my childhood for some reason, is that when I got fatter,
this
my
could get
parents,
dark,
they
folks.
made me,
this
they
could
made,
get real
they
dark.
said, okay, now you're fat. You got to play the tuba. I don't even get it. I don't even know what they were doing
you
to me.
You can do duets with a tuba guy. You go down the beach doing duets.
All right, let me tell you a funny story. So when you're in school, like they put you in this, you're in the band or something, whatever, the orchestra or something.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you go up on the stage and your parents come and all the parents come. So I don't know if I was playing the clarinet or whatever girly thing I was playing. But I was faking it. I wasn't even blowing into the thing. I was just because I would know I would screw up everybody who was actually playing because they went to the lessons. And I was like, my parents are torturing me. They're making me carry this little box with the flute in it or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah. I think you need to take them to counseling.
This is counseling for me.
Deep.
I feel so much better now. I always wanted to play
the rest of the people are falling asleep, ready for you to move on to talk about something relevant to them. But it's not about you guys today, apparently. It's only about him.
Before I die, I want to be able to play the national anthem on a trumpet.
All right, let's make that a goal. Let's work it together. I'll play it with
Would you like him to die soon? Is that what you're saying?
It might happen by the end of the show.
Right, I need to call the insurance people first, please.
There you go. There you go.
Please.
Good luck with that.
Let me up that ante.
What time does your performance start tomorrow night?
All right, so tomorrow we've got we have to move because of the time change. We got a time change tomorrow, so the sunset is going to come later. So we can't do any more 4 to 7. Now it's 5 to 8.
Do you know what really bugs me about the time change?
And
well,
here
I'm
we
sure
go.
there's.
It's when people say, "Oh, I haven't adjusted to the time change yet. It's driving me
tough.
crazy because of 1 hour difference at 2
it
o'clock
makes
in the
a
morning."
big difference. Well, it's not it.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning when it occurs, but the rest of the time after that is all affected.
I mean, how does 1 hour
not like-
twice a year screw people up so much?
It does.
You can't
Your
adjust to that.
circadian rhythms get off. It's a hot mess.
It is a mess. I know that. But anyway, to get back to your answer, we start playing at 5 until 8 because of the later sunset. So the concert starts at 5. So the suggestion is come on downtown here, run around to all these restaurants, sample different shrimp dishes, get yourself a drink or two, and then just toddle on over to Mas Marina at 5 o'clock. And it's best bet, bring your own lawn chair because they've got a certain amount of seating under a tent with some tables and seats. But that runs out really, really fast.
Dude, have you ever been to Wisconsin?
No. Yeah, I hear you guys are Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you honestly, I was a military kid and I have been to all 50 states, either living there or driving through it. So I have driven through Wisconsin.
Very nice. So in addition to tomorrow night, Steven's going to be playing at our concert next Saturday at 5 o'clock. And there's going to, by the way, the vice mayor is going to speak for a short period of time. If you let him speak for a long period of time, he'll speak from 5 to 8 o'clock, but he's going to speak for a short period. There's going to be a check presentation. So it's going to be a great time. We want you to come to Times Square is where it's going to be right where the clock is where we're going to have the stage. And Steven's going to start us off. Then Coastal Cowboy from Marco is going to be the second band, and all the vendors that are the nonprofits are going to be there. They haven't been able to be out since before the storm, so we're looking forward to being in Times Square.
I appreciate you including me in this also. I think it's great. I'm so happy to be a part of that. I've got
It's a
so many
good
different ideas of how we can.
Yeah.
For me, I want to use music to fuel, as I call it, the soundtrack of our comeback, and I'd love to fuel a recovery.
I like that. That kind of rhymes.
Yeah, so it's like one of those radio tease things.
Yeah. And eventually, Bayside Park will be open. And I don't want to bring up
boy.
Bayside Park because it gives her agita, but can you imagine if we were able to have
Eventually, Bayside. Let me just get everything out. Eventually, Bayside Park will be up, and eventually, the walkover will be done, and then we can move on.
Why
through.
did you bring up the walkover? How
Because
dare
you constantly bring it up.
I want the three of us just to get together and just go down there and finish this thing.
do
We
a
can
show.
do that.
Yeah.
So here's the shirt.
Look at that.
This is the shirt.
Let's keep
It
the
says,
vibe alive.
Keep the vibe alive. This is the shirt that they're. It's $30. It's for the Shrimp Fest. It's specially made. It says FMB Strong on the front. Wahoo Willie'S.
Nice.
So if you want to purchase the shirt, thank you, Marie.
And the boat's name is the FMB Strong on the back.
Oh,
Very
nice.
nice, very nice. So, what else is going on in your life, man?
Man, I just working. When I started raising money to pay the musicians to play around here, first of all, I didn't know I'd get so much money. So I've gotten like $36,000 right now. I paid out about $20,000 of it just paying musicians to play in places like Wahoo Willie'S and at the Yucatan and at the Lighthouse and down at Bayfront Bistro, which of course doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
That's
Right.
Bayfront Bistro. And then just doing these little pop-up concerts, the Moss Marina series I'm doing every Saturday night, paying a local musician. I'm not bringing in musicians from other places. I'm bringing in the musicians who play here
We're here.
regularly, played
Mhm.
here regularly before the storm, were booked to play after the storm and just didn't get to play. So I didn't know how much of work that was going to be, but so far I've got like 30 musicians that I
Nice.
paid to play at least 2 or 3 gigs each.
Nice.
You know, it's not enough to make up for all they lost, but it's helped. And I really want to thank the folks here because the tips have been extremely generous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People, I think, understand that a lot of these people are going through. I mean, the musicians, besides losing income, a lot of them also lost their houses.
Right.
You know, so they're trying to make up building their house when they don't have the money coming in from their income. So I really appreciate that. And then in the course of all this, I started getting asked by all the bars and stuff to do a gig or two myself, and,
Yeah.
and that's just keeping me busy. So it's a
Now
lot of fun.
you write songs about the beach too.
I do. I write songs like Beach, Beach, Beach. All she does is beach, beach, beach. See, all I got to do is say the titles. Chunky Dunk.
Oh,
You know
there
what
you
Chunky
go.
Dunk is,
I don't
right?
know what that is. Does that have
That's
to
it.
do
Oh, the
with?
people in Wisconsin know Chunky Dunk.
Does that have to do with cheese curds?
That's basically no. It has to do with when you skinny dip as a young person, it's called skinny dipping. When you skinny dip as an old person, it's called Chunky Dunk.
I see.
Oh,
I see.
So you wouldn't understand that.
Somebody did though. So just a sidebar question here. How now that you're still working out? How old are you?
I am almost 67.
And you're retired.
I am
officially.
retired twice now. Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
How many push-ups can you do in 1 minute?
In 1 minute, I can do the same amount I can do in 10 minutes.
I don't know what
that's
that
a
means.
good answer.
Pretty much one.
When you go to the gym, do you just do yoga or do you actually
I
work
can't
out?
do yoga. I tell my wife I'll do yoga when I can figure out how to win. But so far, I haven't figured out how you win yoga, so I don't do yoga.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yoga's competitive. I've never
Well, I'm
taken
competitive
it.
of everything I do.
Yeah.
I assume you're kind of the same way.
I've never said, dear, I just finished my first yoga class. I've never,
No.
I don't know why.
That would
but-
be something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty much a lifter. I just like to lift
Have
heavy
you
weights.
ever,
put 'em up,
if you
put 'em
watched
down.
the show last night, you'll know what this sentence means. Have you ever just said to a guy in the men's locker room at a gym, did you hear the show last night? We need to catch up in the sauna. Last night, when I went to the gym, these guys were talking about football. They were talking about football. Like they were
You don't have
talking
any other
they were
content you
talking
got to
about the Miami.
review.
Maybe they didn't hear the show last night.
Ah.
As long as it's entertaining to me, I mean, it's entertaining to me. So they're
Not the
talking,
fact
they're
that you don't
talking, they're talking.
remember.
And of course, you know, I'm in the corner pulling my pants up without the towel off because I don't want anybody to see my buttocks. So they're talking
And believe
about,
me, neither does anyone
they're
else
talking
want to
about
see
the
it.
football. They're talking about football. And then the last thing the guy says is, yeah, we need to catch up in the sauna. And I was like, I'm out of here, man.
Whoa.
I am so out of this freaking locker room. Like, can you imagine ever saying that to another dude? Like,
No.
we need to catch up at the bar and we need to catch up with
But
a
not in the
beer.
sauna, no.
But I mean, who
You're really
thinks
into
that?
gender stuff today. You're really.
I don't know. No, that's just odd.
I'm
Would you
not
ever
a
say-
big sauna fan just because I don't just sitting around in a room full of naked people
Never
of
gonna
any
happen.
gender.
Never.
I
gonna
just don't want to
happen.
sit in that heat
That's
and,
true.
the humidity.
You can do that out here in July.
Yeah, we're in it right now. You're
So
sitting
what-
in a sauna together right now.
What is your set going to be? What is your set going to be next Saturday?
What kind of look at the muffler on that truck? Look at
Yeah.
that thing.
That's a
It's like a
toy,
dinner
it's
plate.
a Toyota or something.
I don't know
Wasn't it?
what it
It
is.
was a
It's
Ford.
not one of those American cars. I haven't actually put the set together, but I think I'll do all originals
Nice.
since We
It's
have
a Dodge Ram.
the Wayward Souls band coming up after me.
Yeah.
When we do the thing this weekend. A great band, by the way. If you haven't seen the Wayward Souls band, these guys are great. They play like the old funk and rock and roll, and they'll even do some pop and some country. But they get a huge crowd out there. Used to play at Pinchers all the time back when there was a Pinchers. And,
Are they a mature group?
Yes, they are a mature. I like the way you put that. Yes,
Yeah.
a mature crew.
What does
You
that
know
mean?
why? Because
They're
I think,
slightly older.
I think that I ran into
I
a
thought
guy
that was
that
a shot
plays.
at me.
I think I ran into a guy that plays at that with that band
Uh-huh.
because he gave me a card at the FEMA. Remember when the FEMA was at the library there?
Oh yeah.
And he was going off, and so I said,
the four-letter
Was that Rob?
FEMA.
it
He's
might
the
have
keyboard
been.
player. He's kind of the lead of the Wayward
It might
Souls.
have
He
been,
lives
but
right
I
over by
ran
me at the
the-
South End.
Yeah, I have the video of it. He was. I said, "Can I tape you?" He goes, "Absolutely." And he was just going on and on and on. And then at the end, I have to look that up and see if that was
So
him.
anyway, yeah, I'll do all originals. I think I'll probably do Chunky Dunk just for you, so you
Nice.
can hear Chunky Dunk.
Awesome. Well, Stephen Clark, everybody, he's done great things for local artists, and he's going to be performing tomorrow night at 6,
Yeah, 6.
6
Wait,
o'clock.
no, 5 o'clock.
5
I
o'clock.
got to get the time changed. It messes me up. I don't know if
And you guys are jumping too far ahead now.
And then
then next Saturday.
we're going to have a stage. We're going to have a stage set up over in Times Square. We
What
hope you can all
time is
come out
next Saturday?
and wear your yellow shirt.
also
5
5, isn't it?
o'clock.
Yeah.
5
Oh,
o'clock
okay.
to 8.
5 o'clock on the new time? Wow, I'm loud.
5 o'clock.
Well, see, by next week we'll be used to it. It's just going to
Yeah.
be this weekend. It's going to be tough.
Okay.
Right.
So if you have flights, make sure to check your time on the flights because
Thank
that
you
can mess
thank you.
up.
I texted you this morning to come down, so thank you very much.
Oh, no problem at all. I
Stephen
appreciate it.
Clark, everybody. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow night, and we will see you next Saturday. All right, we got one more guest, everybody. I'm going to read an ad because if it wasn't for these folks that support us with these advertising dollars, we wouldn't be here. Well, and thank you to Wahoo Willie'S for their support, and thank you all for buying us coffees. It's so cool when you do that. You can go to buykimandedcoffee.com if you like the show. If you don't like the show and you don't want to buy anything, that's fine too. Liberty Roofing and Construction. When you build a new house, you don't want to forget to put on a roof, because if you don't put on a roof, it's not really a house. It's just like 4 walls, and when it rains, you're going to be totally screwed. So you want to call Liberty Roofing and Construction. They're your trusted roofing company, and they have a 50-year warranty. Who has a 50-year warranty? Liberty Roofing does. They have a clean property guarantee. You receive a free assessment by calling 401 Roofing. Call Patrick McKenna. He's the dude. He's not going to say to you, let's catch up in the sauna. He's going to say to you, let's get you a roof. 401-439-9585. 401-439-9585. So we have to figure out where in the hell in Wisconsin we're going to do a show. See, my biggest fear is we're going to go to Wisconsin. I mean, I don't even know how to, where would I fly into Wisconsin? Like, do you fly straight into Wisconsin? Do you go to Green Bay? Do you go to Madison? Do you go to Buffalo and then fly? Do I have to go to Canada first?
Peter's over there talking about the Wisconsin trip.
Everybody
I'm
is.
like,
The thing that I need to
I don't
stop
know
doing
if it's a
is
real thing.
I need to
Peter.
stop drunk texting and drunk posting on Facebook like I should go to Wisconsin, and then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, you're coming to Wisconsin and you're flying in here and you're staying here and we're doing a show there. So we need to first coordinate like your vacation. Like, how do we do that around your vacation?
Well, I have June and July,
June and July. Is that okay? June and July? All right.
and I have to go.
Listen,
off
you
to-
people are
I have to
applauding
go to
now.
Utah.
If we fly to Wisconsin and that friggin' room is empty, and we're going to be embarrassed, like nobody's, we flew all the way out here, and these idiots are, they got their
They're
microphones
going to be at
and
home watching it.
and then
Hi guys.
there's 100 people from Wisconsin. Like, who are these idiots from Fort Myers Beach that are sitting there in the corner like two dunces? What are they talking about?
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready? He's been waiting
on,
a long
Jay.
time.
You got to start this one off.
No, I have to go. To the bathroom,
I have
too.
to go. You know, Jay Stoddard, everybody, Fort Myers Beach resident, and he's going to tell us his story of survival. Jay, how are you, man?
I'm fine. How
All
are
right,
you?
hurry up and go,
All right.
and then I gotta go. This is what happens. This is the chunky dunk for us. Now it's the bathroom issue. So Jay, now following that, how long have you lived on Fort Myers Beach?
This would have been our fourth winter.
Fourth winter. So you stay down here just
Where we are here from usually right after Labor Day until about the middle of May, and then we go back to Western New York.
Oh, where in Western New York?
Chautauqua, just south of
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah. I did an internship in Jamestown.
Oh, well, we live on Chautauqua Lake.
yeah.
in
Yeah, it's
Jamestown.
right there.
Yep,
Yeah.
no kidding. Small
Yeah, it
world.
was in the winter, so it was
Wasn't very pleasant.
less than
Yeah, it's a
desirable.
lot- it's very
but-
pretty in the summer, but
So where was your home here?
on our boat on
Okay, yep.
Snookbite Marina.
Nice. And so tell us, kind of walk us through like before, as you were getting the reports.
So we have I think it was 14-foot pilings with floating docks at Snookbite. So we obviously all thought that the storm was going north until about midnight the night before, when it took a turn and started coming at us. But 3 or 4 days before that, we started to prepare the boats and put extra lines and take the isinglass down, take everything down, take all the cushions off the boat.
Did you
Get
ever
ready.
think at that point, like, let's go someplace, let's go around? And
no, we didn't, because we weren't, at that point, we thought it was going to Tampa.
okay.
So, and it kind of ironic. I mean, a couple of days before the storm, we took a dinghy ride down here in the bay, and we saw several boats with Port of Call, Tampa, Florida, because they all
That
came down here to get out of the storm, and they were all in Estero Bay. And 2 days after the storm, we saw them all piled up over there on the side of the.
I didn't even
had they
think
stayed
about
home, they
that,
would have
yeah.
been fine. So we prepared the boat as best we could. A bunch of us hung out up in the captain's lounge a couple of days before, and we're having a grand old time because we thought it was going north, and we just thought we were going to get some storm surge and some winds, and we were going to be okay. But obviously the night before, when it took a turn, we kind of figured we were in for some trouble. So we were up, my wife and I, another couple from the marina, and 2 single gentlemen were up in the captain's lounge at the back of Snookbite Marina, which is about 30 feet above the water. And, and the building was rated for Cat 5. So we were pretty safe. So
there was never any question about let's go hang
Nope.
out in the boat. It
No.
was we're going.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. So the morning of the storm, the boat next to us, which wasn't really properly prepared for the storm, kind of broke free, and it was banging into our boat. So I went out in my bathing suit, naturally a life jacket, and didn't bring anything with me, a phone or wallet or identification or anything. I went out onto the dock and tried to put a couple of extra fenders between our boat and the boat next door to try to, limit the
Protect
damages
it.
as
Yeah,
much as
yeah.
I could. Well, I was out there for probably 45 minutes to an hour and didn't realize that in that particular 45 minutes to an hour, how much worse that the storm had gotten. The storm surge really started to roll in. The winds really started to pick up. And I heard a pop, and I turned around and I saw that the dock section had snapped from the main dock. So I couldn't get back.
No way.
I had no way to get back to the building.
And what are they thinking inside? Are
My-
they
my-
watching all this go
Yeah.
on?
So my wife was up in the captain's lounge in the window watching me, and I threw my hands up saying, I'm not getting back. So,
Oh,
so I, at that point I was stuck on the boat. I had a VHF radio. And my wife had a handheld, or the people in the upstairs had a VHF radio. So I went up and communicated with her because there was no cell phone service
Uh-huh.
at that time.
and you didn't have one
no,
anyway.
right.
So yeah.
And so I just said, hey, I'm going to be all right. We got 14-foot high pilings. We get the storm surge. I'll be out here. I'm going to be fine.
So I'm just trying to think about this in my head. So you turn around, you hear a pop, you turn around, the dock has come away. Is it now moving, or it's just you can't get back?
It is
So
just it is separated and pulled apart, probably from myself to that table. I thought, to be honest with you, for a split second about
you could
jump in,
Yeah.
but the water was just moving, just
So
like a
the-
raging river at that
The
time.
boat was still attached to the
boat was
pilings.
still attached to the dock,
Okay.
and we we had probably 12 feet left because on the piling. So I still thought I was going to be fine. I talked to my wife, said I'm going to be fine. It's going to be a rough night, but I'm going to be okay. So I sat there and I watched the water rise and rise, and I watched the porta potty float into the water, and I watched cars floating by, and then all of a sudden, I had 6 feet left on the piling, 4 feet left on the piling, 2 feet, and then the dock went up over the piling.
Now, when you saw the porta potty fly by, was it clean or was it one of the dirty ones?
It was still upright, so I mean, it was a pretty clean one there at
Yeah.
Snookbite. They take care of everything.
There's the one
so,
over here
yeah.
I just used,
Yeah.
totally clean.
Yeah.
They got that's one of the best ones.
It
The
ended
purple
up
one.
it ended up coming to rest by the fountain out there at Snookbite, so it never made
Now,
it into
tell
the
it
water.
where exactly is Snookbite?
It's directly behind Publix, Mid Island. It
I
used to
see.
be called Mid Island Marina,
Gotcha.
Snookbite Marina.
Gotcha.
It's where the Fresh Catch Bistro is now
Yeah.
in Junkanoo.
So what happens next with you?
Oh.
So
So what are you thinking at that point?
I was thinking that I was still going to when the boat went up over when the dock went up over the pilings. I thought it was just a matter of time before I started to float away. So
That's what
preventatively,
you were thinking. What
Right.
were you feeling?
Pretty scared.
Do you have a life jacket on?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you swim?
I can swim.
Yeah. Are you afraid of sharks?
Not at that
probably,
point,
You know, at
right.
that point, I wasn't thinking about it. To be
What's
honest
the
with you.
weather like going on around you at the, time?
The wind. I had never experienced the sound of that wind that
Mhm.
strong. I mean, it literally did sound like a freight train.
Yeah.
You know, and the water was just. We had probably 8-foot surges, and I mean swells in the back
Wow.
bay back there. Because the wind was coming directly out of the south at that time.
8 foot.
So the boat was just rocking. So I had dropped the anchor down on about 300 feet of line prior to the storm, in case it did float away, hoping that maybe the anchor would catch the boat and it would minimize some of the damages. So before that, I went out and I crawled out on the boat and I cut the 2 lines that were still remaining because I didn't want the weight of the dock and the other boats to
crash into you.
to prevent my boat from being held by the anchor.
How many people would know to do that, though? I mean,
I think if you own a boat,
Yeah.
you should
Yeah.
know how to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now
I used to
he
own a
got us
Bayliner.
lost. He got us stranded in the back here for 7.5 hours one time. I literally had so much sunburn that my face was purple by the time we got help. You know the air horn you're
Yeah,
supposed to have
yeah.
like a minimal
Right.
amount of safety?
Mhm.
Nope.
Nothing.
So
Nothing.
the
So,
the story
Next time I'm
was
going with you because
the first mistake was it was a
Get it.
Bayliner. We had a Bayliner, which was it's a hand-me-down boat. It's not really a boat. and we
Bayliner's
had-
probably a good boat. You just don't know
No,
what you're
not
doing.
really. Well, we had a backup battery on the boat. So the first battery died. And apparently the second battery was a bad battery. So we had 2 bad batteries on the boat. And for some reason, we were catching fish. So I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. But we're catching fish. So let's just keep going. But the boat was going the wrong way. It wasn't coming back in. So
The other thing too is, you know, when you take the boat out of the water, you're supposed to do that. Zzz,
Yeah,
where
you're
you
supposed to lift the trim
yeah.
up. Yeah. No.
No, not so much. But go ahead.
All
We
right,
digress.
well, you digress to insult me.
No,
I
you
digress to
started it.
tell entertaining
You
stories
started
like
it.
in the locker
open-
room.
You opened up, and I
Yeah.
just walked.
I've
through.
never been on a boat since, by the way.
Well,
No.
Have you?
I bet we've rented a few boats. We're living up in St. Pete now.
And you're okay with getting back on the water?
Yeah,
Totally
we're
okay
going
with it.
right back on the water
Nice.
as soon as we're able.
So let's
So
get back
it's
to your
us.
story.
So
Enough
the-
about
so the-
her
So
story.
the boat starts to float away, and about 3 or 4 minutes later, it comes to an abrupt halt. And I'm thinking, this is great. The anchor held. I mean,
Right.
it's going to be a rough night. I'm going to ride it out here in the bay, and I'm going to be tossing around.
Yeah.
And within about 5 minutes, the anchor chain just went and just snapped
No
right
way.
back up over the bay. The pressure of the water.
How close was
And-
it to hitting you?
Well, I was downstairs, so I mean, I was inside, and it went up over the bridge.
Are you a religious
And then-
person?
Not too much.
So you weren't doing any praying?
Well, I was then.
You
yeah,
became,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
So
was then.
when that cuts loose, like before it cuts loose, are you just kind of getting tossed
the boat's
around?
up and stuff's
Yeah, so
flying
you're
up.
like
No, yeah,
like a bounce house
right,
in there,
yeah, pretty
and
much.
ping
Wow.
ponging off
Yeah,
everything.
Vomiting, throwing up, the whole thing.
No,
I would have been totally vomiting.
I was
Did you have a helmet
I
on?
was just holding on. just
Helmet?
trying to, you know.
Well, yeah.
Who wears a
I
helmet?
didn't have a
Well, I
helmet
don't
on my
know.
boat.
He says
Who wears
at
a
least he
helmet
had
on their
a-
boat? Kind of
Hey,
crazy crap.
I
is
would
that?
bring everything.
So after the
Flares.
after the chain snap, then the boat takes off, and
And which
And
direction is the boat
I
going?
had no idea which
No.
direct. I had no idea where. I couldn't see the building anymore. I didn't know where I was. I didn't
Wow.
know what was out there. I didn't know anything.
So
it was
it's-
just like being in a snowstorm with the water.
But
and
luckily,
everything
you're
just
not in the
going,
Gulf. You're in the back bay,
Right,
right?
exactly.
So you're
We were
going
in
to
the
land
back bay.
either in the mangroves or you're
But-
going to hit another boat. Or
Right.
so where did you?
Yeah.
But
where
you don't know because
Right.
now the
Right.
bay, the Gulf is connected
right,
to the
everything's
bay.
connected.
So
So as the boat's moving, which seemed like an eternity, at one point the entire port side went into the boat, and I thought it was going to capsize. That's when I thought
You're going to the
probably
drink.
This is it. Yeah. So, but by the grace of God, I must have hit the mangroves, and the boat uprighted, and then all I heard was as I'm
Trees.
flying through the mangroves. So I ended up 270 or 280 feet deep on the Julie's Island, the mangrove patch directly across from the marina.
How far do you
So-
think your boat started to where it ended up?
It was probably 3/4 of a mile by the time it finally came to
Wow.
rest.
That's
So
I'm
crazy.
I would have thought farther. I mean,
No.
I really thought you could
I
have.
thought I had gone.
How far did you
I
think
thought
you'd
I had
gone?
gone to St. Pete, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it seemed
right.
like an eternity.
How long do you
You know.
think the time was that you were?
You know what? To be honest with you, people have asked me that, and I don't have any record. I just
Yeah. No.
I
were
must
you
have been in shock.
conscious the whole
Yeah.
time?
I was conscious the whole time. But
How
I
did
think
you
I
get
was in
out?
shock.
How'd you get out? Did
So-
you walk out?
So yeah,
you're in the mangroves.
So the boat came to rest in the mangroves, and by the time that the wind had died, and by the time I could get up on the bridge and try to get to my VHF radio, and hit the Mayday button for the Coast Guard, it was dark. So I really didn't know where I was at that particular point in time. So I shot a flare off, and my wife did say, because she was in the captain's lounge. So now I was basically
okay, I
directly
missed
in
the
front of
first part.
marina.
The captain's lounge.
The captain's lounge is in
It's
Snook
Snook
Bite Marina.
Yeah.
So
Hey, how are you?
so it's kind of like a lounge for the people that have a boat there, and you can go up.
I
And
see.
so we were kind of hanging out up there before the storm.
Sort of like the Delta
So-
Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she
saw the
sees,
flare?
She sees the flare. So I go up, and I hit the red Mayday button for the Coast Guard. And,
on
and
the
that's-
boat.
it's
Still working.
Yeah. All the electronics are still working.
Wow.
So that's called an MMSI number. It's registered with the Coast Guard. It gives them the exact coordinates. And I had two contacts registered, my son and my wife. And I got on the VHF radio and tried to call my wife on the VHF radio, hoping that, because they had one up in a handheld one up in the lounge, and I wasn't able to get a hold of her. But about 10 minutes later, I heard her on the VHF radio. So I ran upstairs, and we talked for a brief moment. She said, the Coast Guard got your information. They have your coordinates. They're not coming out tonight because they're not going to jeopardize the,
Sure.
the safety
Right.
of their.
Yeah, that's
of their
what
guys,
all the
right?
that's what
Yeah.
all the,
Right.
the folks like the fire department said they're not
Right.
going out
Right.
until the storm's over.
Right. So she said they will be there in the morning. They know you're there. So
Good.
it made it a little bit better. So I went downstairs. I checked the engine room. I didn't have any water in the engine room, so I knew I wasn't going to sink.
Crazy.
And I closed.
Did you
off-
have any water to drink though?
I had water and I had
Oh, good.
bourbon. So
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, very nice.
So
Kentucky
yeah.
bourbon?
Yes.
Is there
Yeah.
any other?
Yeah.
Did you drink
So-
the water or the bourbon?
I had a little of both.
yeah. I
Yeah.
see.
So
So
I,
were you
I-
hung over the next day?
No.
Oh, I'm sure
I,
you
uh,
were like, did you sleep at
A
all
little
for
bit. I
days?
think I did
you?
a little bit. Yeah,
Good.
but not much after that. So I closed all the seacocks because I didn't want anything crawling up into the boat, that night. And then in the morning, when first light came, I could the mangroves are just filled with
Destroyed.
debris. I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen it.
Houses,
Yeah.
just
cars,
everything. There was
everything.
everything in there. But there was a paddle board from me to the end of the bar away in the mangrove. So I said, I'm gonna go get that paddle board. If worst case scenario, I don't know when the Coast Guard's coming.
Right.
I'm gonna get the paddle board and I'll get it and I'll put it in the water and I'll paddle back across the bay
At
over to
that
the
point,
marina.
you could tell where you were.
Yeah,
so
I knew
you
exactly where I
And
was
it's,
there.
it's light out,
Yeah.
and it's probably a nice day.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the water wasn't too rough. It wasn't bad. So I duct taped my flip flops to my feet. I always say it's
Duct
amazing
tape.
how your survival instincts kick in when you're in
Yeah.
that situation. Because when I jumped down in, I didn't want to lose my flip flop and cut my feet all up and
I
risk
see.
an infection. So I duct taped my flip flops. I went through the mangroves, and the mangroves they're brutal. They're
Oh,
yeah.
like vines.
Yeah.
Grape vineyard.
And that's
They're
before
strong.
they have debris in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my arms are just starting to heal up now from being all cut up. So I got the paddle board, and just as I wrestled the paddle board up onto the swim platform on my VHF radio, I heard, a vessel port and starter. This is incoming Coast Guard helicopter. Da 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 da.
Wow.
We're coming to extract you, looking for your location. So I could see them out over the beach on the southern end of the beach. So I got a hold of them and I said, if you look north and you look west, I'm going to shoot a flare off and I'll give you my, so they said, okay. So I shot a flare, and within 5 minutes they were hovering right over the top of the boat.
So did they drop the
So
basket
they
and
did-
you
they-
had
they-
to get in the,
Yeah,
oh
they
my
dropped the basket.
goodness.
They
Cool.
dropped the Coast Guard guy down first, and he told me exactly what to do. You can get a couple bags of clothes. So being the smart guy I am, I went down. I got all my wife's clothes so that she had
And the bourbon.
so that she had clothes.
And the bourbon.
And I did get a little bourbon. And I loaded it into the basket, and they told me to make sure I keep my hands inside the basket so they don't slam against the helicopter and
At
break
that
my
point,
fingers.
you must have been feeling
I was
a range of
Oh,
feelings
oh,
and
yeah.
joy
It was
being one of
crazy.
them. Yeah.
So now my wife is in the captain's quarters, and she's in the window and she's watching this
Yeah.
entire extraction, seeing
Ah.
the whole thing. So she knows I'm getting rescued. But little did she know. I mean, we got up and the gentleman asked me, so where do you want to go? I said, I'd like to go. You guys toured it, I think, a week or so ago, the harbor condos right next door to Snook
Yep.
Bite.
Yeah.
I said, if you could let me down right over there on the beach, that'd be perfect because my wife's in the marina. I'll just walk across the street.
Right,
And they
right,
said, okay, fine.
right.
We got to get 2 more people one lady from Bonita and one lady from Sanibel before we take care of you. And they said, we might be up here for an hour or two, but just relax. So I said, fine. So these guys were rock stars. I mean, they gave me
Who are they? We need to get them on the show.
I tell you what, they really,
Coast Guard folks.
these guys were, and when I watched how they treated the ladies, and I'll tell you, so we went to Bonita and we picked up an elderly lady that was there. She could hardly speak English. She was there in a VRBO with her dog. She didn't, and she was just petrified.
Oh.
So they put her in the basket. They brought her up, and she sat next to me, and she had her dog, and she was just hysterical. So then from Bonita, we went to Sanibel at about 100 feet off the deck, all along the shoreline, and I got to see the devastation firsthand the next day.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we go to Sanibel and pick the lady up. And then the Coast Guard guy says, sorry, man, we got direct orders to drop you guys off at Punta Gorda Airport.
Oh.
I'm like, Punta Gorda Airport? I don't have any phone, no phone, no money, no nothing, right? So they drop us off in Punta Gorda Airport, and sorry to take so much time, but we get to Punta Gorda Airport, and so we go in. And I said to the lady, I said, hey, they just dropped us off from Fort Myers Beach. What plan do you have for us? And she said,
none.
We didn't even know you were coming. You guys are on your own. They had gotten damage at the airport, so they were trying to figure out stuff up there. So fortunately for me, I had a friend from up north that lives in Punta Gorda. He wasn't there for the winter yet. So I was able to get a phone from the lady in Sanibel. She went out on the runway and found a little bit of cell phone coverage. So I called my buddy up in New York, said, hey, I'm in Punta Gorda, stranded. Can I go to your house? He said, absolutely. He said, I'll tell my neighbors you're on your way. So now the CEO of the airport is there. And he said, where are you trying to get to? And the CEO of the airport lives in Fort Myers. He said, where are you trying to get to? I said, my friend's house over on Susie Lane. He said, I'll get you a cab. So he kept dialing. He said, I can't get it. I can't get you a cab. He goes, come on. He goes, I'm waiting for Governor DeSantis to fly in, but I'm going to take you to your friend's house. This is more important. So this is the CEO of the airport.
Wow.
And I said, listen, if you got to wait for Governor DeSantis, I can wait. He's like, nope, I'm taking you. So as we're driving out of the airport, sure enough, Governor DeSantis' jet is landing in Punta Gorda Airport.
Wow.
So he takes me to my friend's house, drops me off, gives me a card and says, here's $50. He goes, I know you don't have any money, but here's my card. I don't know if anything's open or anything, but you might need some money down the road, before you get back. So my friend's neighbors let me in the house. So I'm sitting in his house, and there's no water, no phone, no lights, no nothing. It's hotter than you know what.
Even at Punta Gorda, there's storm damage.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of damage up there. So I'm sitting in his living room, and I said, desperate times call for desperate measures. So I went next door, and I banged on the gentleman's door, and I said, I noticed you have 2 cars in your driveway. I said, I need to use one of them to get back to Fort Myers Beach. My wife's down there. I said, I can't get a hold of her. And come to find out, I didn't know this until I finally got back, but she had called the Coast Guard, and they told her I was in the hospital, and they couldn't tell her what my condition was. So now all this time she's thinking I'm in the hospital. So the gentleman says, I can't let you take a car. He said, I got my kids here, all my grandkids. He said, but I'll tell you what, I'll drive you. I'll drive you to Fort Myers Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know this guy from Adam. So he goes, go to Ed's house. Get ready. I'll come here. He comes over 5 minutes later, picks me up. He said, my wife made you 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a couple of bottles of water. And it took us 3 hours to get from Punta Gorda to the base of Fort Myers Bridge with all the debris and everything that was down and the roads.
At that point, you can't get over the bridge.
No.
How do you finally contact your wife?
He drops me off at the base of the bridge, and he gives me $100, and says, it doesn't look like anything's open, but you might need some money. So now they got the big barricade, as you know, across the bridge. So I'm trying to sneak over the bridge, and the sheriff catches nothing. I'm in my bathing suit.
So they had a giant one of those trailers blocking the bridge. Nobody was getting over. It was military style.
So I'm trying to sneak over, and the sheriff yells at me, and he says, hey, where are you going? I said, I'm going over, to Snook Bite Marine. He goes, the hell you are? He said, so I told him what my story was. And he said, go get your wife, go get over there. He said, if anybody on the other side of the bridge gives you trouble, he said, tell them to radio me. You're good to go. He said, just be careful, because it's So I get up on the other side, I walk up over the other side of the bridge. Now I'm seeing the devastation again. Now walking through it after I just saw it on the helicopter.
And you're talking about a 3-mile walk from the base of the bridge.
Right. So I get up over on the other side, and I find a bike that's submerged, like buried in the sand. So I ripped this bike out of the sand, didn't have a seat on it. And you couldn't ride on the road because there was so much sand on the road. So I went down on the beach, and there was still some hard sand down there. So I rode the beach, and I'm
On a bike with no seat.
on a bike with no seat, and I'm going by parts of houses, cars, stoves, refrigerators, couches that are all washed up.
Wow.
So I finally made it back to the marina about 5 o'clock on Thursday.
How long did it take you to bike from?
It took me it seemed like an eternity, to be honest with you, because it was so hot. And I hadn't eaten, or slept.
Wow.
So I think I left the marina at about 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and I got back about 6 o'clock on Thursday night. That's how I finally made it back.
That is crazy.
And so when you show up and they're thinking you're at the hospital,
Yeah.
they must have been.
Yeah, my wife ran up to me and punched me.
Why did the Coast Guard say you were in the hospital? Where'd they get that information?
I have no idea.
They dropped you off at the airport.
I have no
I'm
idea.
sure there was just
Yeah.
so much.
But these Coast Guard guys,
Yeah.
when they got
True
these two
heroes,
ladies
true
in the
heroes.
helicopter, they would sit on the floor and they would pet the dog and they would talk to the ladies, and they were just amazing.
Yeah.
You really should get them on your
Yeah.
show. They were out of Jacksonville. I don't know, but they were crazy.
When you think back of that experience that you went through now, how does that compute to you? Like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. I know we drove back on the island a couple weeks after all that, and I'm sure there was some form of PTSD because it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I used to watch and being up north, you'd see something from a hurricane in New Orleans and people would say, I feel totally blessed. And I would always call BS on that. I'm like, how could you possibly feel blessed after that storm? But I do. I know there's a lot of people in a lot worse situation than we are right now. We've got insurance on our boat. We just finally settled on the insurance on the boat. I'm flying to Baltimore Tuesday to look at a new one in Annapolis. And as soon as Snook's rebuilt, we'll be back on our boat.
But most people don't go. How old are you?
64, 65.
Well, we're neither one of us are spring chickens. Nobody goes through that kind of stress, and it could have been it could have killed you. You could have died.
It could have been a lot
So
worse.
I
didn't realize it at the time, but after hearing everybody's story, and I bought the book the gentleman wrote, and I've been reading about some of the other accounts for people, and think that it could have gone worse.
Was there
in
a
hurry.
moment where you were like,
when the boat went
did that?
sideways, I just thought it was going to go this way, and the water was going to rush in. I really thought, and then after chatting with my wife, she was like, I'm trying to figure out which one of our boys to call first to tell me you didn't make it.
Whoa.
But it all worked out, and
Yes.
I know there's and I hear. So I kept saying surviving the storm is the easy part. It's the aftermath, dealing with insurance and dealing with FEMA, and I'm trying to. And I read.
So the storm experience is less of a traumatic
stress,
event than this.
And I read all your accounts of what people are going through, trying to rebuild their homes and the things that they're doing, and think that we are blessed. We're going to get money for our boat. We're going to buy a new one. We're going to go back. And there's people that lost their homes or loved ones. And it's just, so we were the lucky ones.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to go through it again. So.
No.
All right.
Nobody does. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, Jay.
Yeah,
Thanks
I don't even know how we
for-
connected.
Thanks.
Somebody told me your story, and
It was all over. It was on the news. It was all over the news.
Yeah.
On Fox News. It was if you Google man rescued from mangroves on Sanibel, you'll find it on YouTube. And it's funny because there's all kinds of comments there, and people say, "What a dumbass! He was on his boat," or he looks awful shady. What do you think he has in those 2 garbage bags?
Oh my God!
People are idiots.
Yeah. And so, did the Coast Guard take video? Like, did they have?
He had a GoPro helmet, so it's on. It's on in fact, a news. Not a news, but a film crew from LA actually flew into Tampa a couple of weeks ago and came to the apartment they were renting up in Madeira Beach and did a thing on because they're going to do a documentary on the storm. And then they were coming down here to do it. So, but it's on the Coast Guard website.
If I can find that, I'll share it with everybody that has not seen it so far.
I emailed it to you.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Yep, but.
Well, Jay, man, it was so great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on, and
God
let's
bless
stay in
everybody.
touch, man.
Can't wait to get back.
Yeah, I hope we
thanks
see
for all your
pictures
hard
of your boat. Your new boat. Jay Stoddard, everybody.
Thanks.
Can we get a big hand for Jay surviving the storm? Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming on. I can't keep it together.
Crazy.
All right, before we go, Laura Sanchez, everybody.
I do have to.
Go ahead. That porta potty is very clean. I really like those purple porta potties. For some reason, they keep them clean over there. Laura Sanchez has millions and millions of dollars for you to spend on your rebuild at Affinity Homes. I'm not crying. I'm blowing my nose. Well, maybe I was crying a little bit. Call Laura Sanchez. She's going to help you finance your rebuild or finance your new home, whatever it is, at Affinity. She's the vice president of mortgage lending at Affinity. And she was on the show, and she's super cool. And you can reach Laura Sanchez at 239-895-0657, 239-895-0657. Affinity is going to give you some money to rebuild your house. And that's what you need when you rebuild your house. You need money. Because you can't do it without money. Can't do it without money. Can't do it without a roof. We told you all about the people you can trust. So, what was I going to tell everybody? Dave, what was I going to tell everybody? I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. Other than it's the shrimp crawl weekend. So every place on the beach that you go to here, Snug Harbor, La Ola, Rude Shrimp, a couple other places, they're going to have this jumbo shrimp that you would get at the Shrimp Festival. And a portion, 10% of the proceeds are going to go to the Lions Club because the Lions Club gives out scholarships every year. And there's obviously no Shrimp Festival. So they need your help. Buy some shrimp, eat some shrimp. And next weekend, oh, yeah, we have a little event going on next weekend. Saturday on the 18th, we're doing a sunset celebration in Times Square. You're going to be able to watch the sunset, watch Stephen Clark play, watch Coastal Cowboy play there from Marco. And all the nonprofits, the Lions Club, the Women's Club, FMB Strong, Community Foundation. We're also going to have Nervous Nellies. Nervous Nellies is going to be our big sponsor for the event. And the Whale, all those folks are going to be selling like their classic merchandise that you would have been able to buy if they were still open. So that's going to be from 5 to 8 next Saturday. And now I remembered what it was. The Mondays with the Mayor is going to be moved until Wednesday because I will be in Nashville Monday night and Tuesday for my last conference with my job. It's so that I can do this full time. We have 3% left on our power before it goes.
Yeah, I hope you guys are all still clapping in another year because you got to make this work now. The pressure is on you.
Right, it's all about the coffees now. It's all about the coffees.
Somebody was just saying that there's, where did she go? A cheese curd festival in Wisconsin at the end of June.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So there are no porta potties needed at a cheese curd festival, right? I mean, why would you need a porta potty?
Right. Why do you always have to bring it back to the toilet?
Well, when you get to my age, going is very important. So, so the Mondays with the Mayor is going to be moved to Wednesday. So and there's
when?
I have to go to Nashville.
Oh, just this week.
Do you want to do the show without me on Monday?
No, that's okay.
Okay. So Wednesday, and there's a lot to talk about. There's permitting to talk about. There's this last LPA town council meeting to talk about. So it'll be Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
1%.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you to the staff of Wahoo Willie'S. Say it with me, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.